Well, welcome everyone to 180 U-Turn, the talk show that we feature some of the greatest conversion stories of our time. Stories of men and women who are on the highway to hell when they had an encounter on a Damascus Road experience that completely turned their lives around. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, and today I'm broadcasting live from the Life Change Center in Sun City, Arizona, a Christ-centered recovery facility for alcohol abuse and drug and sexual addictions. For more information on their rehab services, their weekly meetings, and special events, just go out to their website and check it out at gwparizona.com. That's GWP, full Arizona, A-Z-I-O-U, whatever it is, A-R-I-Z-O-A-N, whatever it is, Arizona.org. I don't think I got it right yet. GWPARIZONA.org. And hey, listen, if you want to write me, feel free to do so. My email on the show is steve@180uturn.com. That's steve at 180uturn, YOUTURN.com. Today on 180, we're putting a spotlight on a conversion story of Nancy Bricci. Welcome to the show, Nancy.
Hi, thank you.
Well, first of all, it's so wonderful. As people know our format, we always bring people on, and for the first 3 episodes, we talk about their life before the Lord. So that's what we're going to do this week. This is our first show, Monday. And then on Thursday, we'll talk about, hey, how you found the Lord. And then Friday, we're talking about, hey, what do you do now? Because you're into a lot of things, so we'll want to hear about all the things you're into. But we're going to talk today a little bit about the front end of your story. And, you know, you and I have something similar. You were born in Massachusetts. You're an East Coast gal. Mm-hmm. And coming out here, living out here in Arizona, of course, is totally different, right? Yeah. I mean, we're talking about major cultural change.
Yeah.
Is it difficult for you to be out here at first?
At first, yeah, for sure.
How was your first summer?
Very hot.
It's very hot. That's right. And so just keep in mind, everyone, you know, when you're out here, the winter is fabulous. But your first summer, my first summer here out of Chicago, it was terrible. I didn't know if I made the right choice, but we did. But both of us came from a very parochial Catholic background. And so some of you have heard my testimony before and parts of it. And Nancy, you were brought up in a very Catholic a culture and society in your family forever, right? Yeah. Forever Catholic.
Forever, yes.
So when you were being brought up you were not talking about, passing, because your folks and your family is from Puerto Rico, which is, I think it's just like, almost 98% Catholic.
Yeah.
So the island's Catholic, your family's Catholic. Mm-hmm. And when you grew up as a little girl, you went and did the regular routine like confession.
Yes.
Right. What did you think about that that was your first time? I mean, you're going into the little box. What does an 8-year-old girl have on her heart that she has to tell the priest, right?
Yeah. It was, very nerve-wracking. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, all I could think of was I didn't listen to my mom and dad, so that was the wrong that I was doing. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of always what I would share every time we would have to go every single year to confess was always, I didn't listen good to my parents.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty much what you had.
That's pretty much what I would say, yeah.
But on your first one, do you think it was, for you, was it a little scary, or no, you pretty much knew it was going to happen and you had no problem?
Well, beforehand, they inscripted us, basically gave us the directions of the things that we have to say. So I already knew what to expect, the dialogue, I guess you can say. But it was still nerve-wracking. It was still,
And then you went, of course, to have your first communion. What was that like for you?
That, for a little girl to dress up all in white with a veil, that was exciting. But I didn't understand what we were doing, so it was not much really passed. I just did what I had to do. I didn't really think much. Now,
of course, when I'm thinking of my first communion, of course, I was somewhat semi-petrified because we're, Jesus, the little host turns into Jesus, and, Jesus is going to be in my body as a kind of a strange thought for a child. And then later on, you went through another sacrament, which is called confirmation, where you're pretty much, now you're of age, you can make your own determination, and you get to choose a sponsor. I chose one of my uncles. Who did you choose?
I didn't get to choose.
Oh, somebody chose.
I don't remember if there was a sponsor. I just remember that I chose my own new name. I remember that one clearly.
And how did you like that, choosing your own confirmation name?
I liked it, but unfortunately I wasn't able to use it on a daily basis. I still had to be Nancy, but St. Anne I ended up choosing.
St. Anne. Now, did you know much about her?
No.
Is that why you chose her or no?
No, I just chose her because it relates to my name, Nancy. That's the only reason why.
Well, maybe after a while when you get time to check it out, there might be a purpose of why you chose it as a little girl. It might even have a purpose today. Who knows? When I'm thinking about it, I'm raised Catholic, and I had to wear what's called a scapula. Now, for most Protestants and people watching our show, they don't know what that is. But did you have one of those?
Yeah.
Little picture, little holy picture here, and one in the back.
We would wear it or place it in our cars. Anywhere that we would feel could keep us safe is where we would have it.
I never can remember until I got to public school ever taking it off.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, actually, I think my mom ever said, hey, you need to take it off before you shower and use the bath.
Yeah.
I kept it on all the time. Now, when we're brought up with holy cards, you too.
Yeah.
A missal, you had a little catechism book, right?
Yeah.
You had your you had rosaries.
Yes.
We prayed to saints, right?
Yeah.
So we did all these things, and my problem, I think I might have mentioned this in our pre-interview, was I prayed to all my saints, and I didn't really get any activity, and I thought, well, maybe I'm living wrong, and that's why they're not answering my prayers.
Yeah.
Did you have any similar experiences? You prayed. Did you ever have answers?
Well, yeah, no. I'd never gotten answers. My dad drank, and so obviously my one prayer was that he would stop drinking and we'd have a happy home. And so that never happened. So
So was his drinking getting in the way of having a happy home?
Yeah.
Okay.
That mostly on forgiveness, but that was a big stumbling situation, was the drinking.
And he couldn't get past it.
No.
In your life, when you're thinking about this caused you to kind of go through something that's, I never think about people at a young age between 8 and 10 being depressed about their situation or being sad, where it occupies your mind all the time. But you had this experience as a little girl, Nancy.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about this ongoing depression and ongoing inward, sorrow.
Yeah, the sorrow was always there, but I guess more erupted within me when I was around 10 years old. And the only route that I saw to be an outlet of my situation within me was to just take it out on myself, because I felt that no one cared, no one wanted to listen. If I had a struggle, even if I was sick, no one cared. I had to take care of myself. And so the results of that was greatly harming myself and physically.
Now, when did you start harming yourself physically? What age were you?
I was 10 years old.
Okay. Yeah. Because I've been in prison 16 years, I know where a lot of this can go. But why don't you say, how did you harm yourself, and why did you choose that method to do so?
Yeah, I began cutting myself. That was the first thing.
How did you even know to do that? Did you hear about it?
I didn't.
Did you know somebody that
I
did
didn't.
it?
It was just in me to just cut, make myself bleed, to feel alive, and at the same time trying my best to get as deep as I can to not live. So
the cutting isn't just for the first part of feeling alive and somehow feeling pain, so at least you're living.
Yeah.
But now you're thinking about maybe, hey, offing yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and this is at 10 years of age.
10 years.
See, this is so weird, because in so many people that watch our show, you've seen, I've had gals and guys on before that have said this very thing. When people watched the Sheridan testimony of her trying to fall from the jungle gym on her head to kill herself at 8 or 9 years of age.
Yeah.
I mean, people are desperate to find some kind of peace of mind, and we always think, well, that's because we were teenagers or we were young adults and making mistakes. No, this is when we're kids.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty heavy thing. And this is cruelty on a level to yourself.
Yeah.
And how did you hide this from your parents? I mean, are you wearing long sleeves all the time?
Yeah, just wear sweatshirts even in the summertime. And anywhere that I could hide it the most, whether it was on my stomach, on my chest, or on my arm right here, even on my legs, anywhere I could hide it is where I would do it.
And did you ever have the problem that you've done it so much that you're running out of places to cut?
Yeah.
Okay, and again, I want to walk you through this and feel whatever comfortability you feel. But when I hear this at prison, I've been in women's prisons for a long time now, and I've seen varying degrees of what I would call this, for lack of a better term, self-mutilation. Yeah. And this, I have only seen one person who really degraded themselves almost at every place that they could reach. Were you at that place except for your face and your neck?
I never gone to that degree. because 1 or 2 slices or 3 slices would be enough to just break me down, where I just would just cry myself to sleep or find another thing to just knock me out for the night. Like that's how it was. In
your idea, you discovered some of the basic pharmaceutical, over the counter even, pharmaceuticals in your mom and dad's medicine cabinet, and you started doing Benadryl. Yeah. Right? Now, when I think of Benadryl, I mean, I have a lot of friends that said they used to say, hey, I take a Benadryl because I can't really sleep, and I don't want to do Ambien because it's a pharmaceutical. I got to get a doctor involved. I just want to take a couple hits of Benadryl. You're not taking 2. According to your testimony, you're doing 8 pills a night.
I would take handfuls.
Which I don't understand how you even survived that, to be very honest with you. That had to be God looking over you. Yeah. I mean, because eight, I mean, we're talking 400 something megs, right? Or whatever that is. And so that's a lot of Benadryl on a regular basis. Whenever
it was really time, like I just had enough is when I would go to that level.
And you're now chasing it with NyQuil.
Yeah.
On top of it.
Yeah.
So, and how old are you during this period, this episode?
So, I was probably 11. It was literally from 10 to, I would say 14. That's when I was just going back and forth.
How did you know to do that, though? How did you know, hey, I'm choosing Benadryl, I'm choosing NyQuil? How did you know that at that young age?
I don't know if it's by what I watched or just what I was listening to, because I was really much into Eminem and all these other heavy metal, rock and roll. And now when I look back and if I read the lyrics, lots of times in the lyrics we're saying these things. So that could have had a huge influence for me to think such of a thing. But it was just naturally just grab and go.
You don't strike me as the heavy metal type.
Yeah, I was gothic for some time.
Okay, but that's a whole other thing. And no, we don't have pictures. So okay, now when I'm thinking about this, because everybody generally by the time you get to high school, you're going to be going to other things, but you didn't even get to high school, and your father or somebody discovered this and sent you to a shrink.
Yeah. So when believe it was 8th grade. And there was kind of like a death threat that happened in school, and so they wanted to check all of our backpacks while we were at recess, and they checked mine, of course, and called me into the office. And it was summer, and I was wearing a sweatshirt, and the night before I cut myself, so that was the reason why I had that sweater on. And they were asking me questions about why I had broken glass in my backpack and why I had Tylenol, and my excuse was like, I get car sick on the bus, and so I need the Tylenol to just help me with my dizziness, things like that. And then I just had a broken mirror and just forgot about it. That's why there's glass. And they're like, okay. And I started to get really, really nervous. And so naturally, I just slipped up my arms because I was getting hot and stuff. And right when I did that, they saw the fresh wounds. And, they put 2 and 2 together and understood what I was doing to myself.
And called your dad.
And ended up calling my dad.
Now, when he came to school, he was seriously concerned here. What's going on? He had no idea of this, right?
My dad wasn't a man who talked about his emotions unless he was drunk. And so he didn't really say anything. He just stayed in silence and just told, the principal advised, bring her to a psychiatrist and, get some counsel. And he was just like, okay, give me the number and I'll call.
Did he?
So, yeah, he called.
And did you go?
We ended up going once, and I told him, I guess, what was going on, and they talked to my dad and, prescribed the medication for me to take for my depression. And my dad didn't, though. He didn't go forward with getting the medication, and I only saw that person one time, never again.
So that was one time, but now you're awake that there's an issue. I mean, you knew there was an issue, but now other people know.
Yeah, because of that, that's when I decided that I need to find another outlet and not cut myself, because they found that out.
Now in high school, of course, there's a ton of outlets, right?
Yeah.
It could be dope, it could be weed, it could be alcoholism, it could be sexual promiscuity. There's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah.
In your life, do you find yourself, you're not experimenting for experience, you're experimenting in these areas because you just want to put yourself unconscious, basically.
Yeah.
Would you say that's true? I mean, because a lot of people, hey, they're just experimenting. They're having fun. They're going to a party. You're not doing it for this reason.
No, I wanted to be as numb as I possibly could.
Mm-hmm. See, to me, that's even sadder because at least I understand my time of my day. This is all fun. We're going to a party. We're having a blast. Nobody's doing it for the reasons you're doing it. Mm-hmm. That we have now drifted from that in the 60s to what we're experiencing in the early 2000s blows my mind.
Yeah.
So that to me is just another example of how things keep advancing from one generation unchecked by revival. Nothing, God's not interfering here. Something's not happening in our land. So it's a pretty tough thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you got into you're doing weed, alcohol. Now, during this time, were your grades suffering at all, or were you still doing pretty good in school?
I was a C and D student. The only time I got an A is if I was drunk taking a test.
Mm-hmm. So you're telling me you're a good test taker if you're inebriated, basically.
Yeah, if I snuck something in school and took something beforehand. Yeah.
Okay, so when I'm thinking about a person going through high school at this, and again, probably, and I'm no doctor, but a clinical depression at such a young age, and your mom and dad aren't really that communicative, right? Nobody's talking.
No.
Now, weren't you number 3?
I was the third child, yes.
Okay, so the children were 4 years apart, I think you told me?
My brother is 4 years apart from my sister, and then my sister and I are 4 years.
Okay, so they're not close enough to have any real sibling relationships?
No, and by the time that I fell into the deep depression, they were already outside of the home.
Well, when we come back tomorrow, we're going to follow up with this next part of your story. I'm so sorry to say it doesn't get really that much better, but there seems to be such a hunger and a thirst for God in it. So for more information on Life Change Center, you can go out to their website again at GWP Arizona, GWPArizona.com for their weekly services, their rehab services, and any of the special events that they have going on. So until next time, I'm Steve Savant, and remember, no one's outside the reach of God. No, not one.